So during the recent softball town hall event hosted by Sean Hannity on the Fox Propaganda Network, there was a moment in which Donald Trump seemed to pose a rhetorical question to his Trump-loving MAGA audience to try to rile them up. But in the days since, it seems like we can look back on that and see it as an implicit directive, not a rhetorical question, but an implicit directive to congressional Republicans, not the audience at the town hall, but congressional Republicans, and specifically the beleaguered Speaker of the House of Representatives, Kevin McCarthy. And I want to play that clip of that question, then I'm going to play a separate clip of Kevin McCarthy, and we're going to draw the connection between the two and what this means for the current political landscape. But before we do that, if you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and the alert bell, and maybe check out my Patreon. I'd appreciate the support. So I want to play the clip in question, and again, this is from the recent town hall event with Sean Hannity, and Donald Trump says the following.
They impeached me over a phone call that was perfect. Why aren't they impeaching Biden for receiving tens of millions of dollars? Why isn't he under impeachment?
So obviously that riled up the base there, and I'm sure it did people at home who were watching as well. Because again, in the minds of MAGA Republicans, it doesn't matter why Donald Trump was impeached. The fact that he was impeached at all, let alone twice, means that turnabout is fair play. And if you impeach our cult leader, our God King, Donald Trump, then that means we have to go after every Democratic leader. Now, to those of us who are sane, we're like, well, listen, apples and oranges, right? It's okay to impeach Democratic leaders if there's a sufficient level of corruption and impropriety that merits an impeachment, right? That's why Donald Trump was impeached. So just because you impeach Donald Trump doesn't mean you should impeach Joe Biden unless Joe Biden, you can prove, has behaved corruptly or, again, engaged in improprieties that mean that he should be taken out of office. Now, again, that happened during the Fox News town hall event. And just a few days later, we have a situation right here. And this is Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. And let's hear what he has to say.
All I'm saying is, and I'm sure you'd probably ask the same question, where's the truth? You've got to get to the bottom of the truth. And the only way Congress can do that is go to impeachment inquiry that gives Republicans and Democrats the ability to get all the information. Hey, I think I got to open the floor. I'm sure we're going to be able to see each other.
So that's a public statement from Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, in which he's floating the idea that there should be an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. So let's unpack this a bit. The impeachment process is as follows. It only takes a simple majority in the House of Representatives to impeach a president. Articles of impeachment have to be filed, and then there's a full vote. And then if you get just a simple majority, just one majority vote, so half plus one of the members of the House of Representatives to impeach, you have an impeachment. But then the trial in the Senate occurs, right? So the House impeaches, and then the Senate has the trial. It takes a two-thirds majority in the Senate to convict an officer of impeachment, right? So that's why even though President Trump was impeached twice, both trials ended in acquittal in the Senate because there weren't enough brave Republicans to convict him, okay? So what this means is even if articles of impeachment are filed, even if Kevin McCarthy can get the votes to successfully impeach Biden, there's absolutely no way that the impeachment would be successful in the Senate, given that the majority in the Senate are either Democrats or Democratic-aligned independents. There's just no way that they would ever get that two-thirds majority. It is destined to fail. The impeachment inquiry that McCarthy mentioned, it's an unnecessary process. It's basically a step before a full impeachment vote in which you usually assign like the House Judiciary Committee to investigate and decide whether or not there should proceed a full House vote to impeach a high officer. So it's one step towards impeachment. But a lot of people are saying that this is a pretty bad political decision of Kevin McCarthy to even gesture in that direction. Because here's what you need to remember. There are 18 Republicans in the House of Representatives that are operating in districts that comfortably supported Biden in 2020. That means these 18 congressional Republicans are relatively vulnerable, and it's unlikely that their constituents would favor them impeaching the president unless they had a damn good reason, which they don't. Donald Trump mentioned tens of millions of dollars to Biden, but the fact of the matter is Republican investigations have not turned up a single financial record or transaction of those tens of millions of dollars to President Biden. So they're far from satisfying any sort of reasonable evidence for their claims. Now, in theory, they don't need to do that because this isn't a legal trial, right? Impeachment is a purely political process, and that's just the truth. It's always been political. It's been political when Democrats have done it, Republicans have done it, before Republicans and Democrats as we know them today. It's not the same as a legal trial, but the political consequences of this would probably be pretty severe given that 18 Republicans are sitting in districts Biden won. So there's no guarantee that McCarthy will get the votes he needs. You only need a simple majority, but it's entirely possible that all 18 of these Republicans in Biden districts do not support an impeachment vote, and certainly no Democrat will. So there's no guarantee that if he pushes it to a vote that it would pass, and that would be pretty embarrassing. But besides which, also consider this. There was a recent order by the Supreme Court that New York redraw its maps, okay? Or it's not a Supreme Court, I'm sorry, an appeals court. Right now, there are a number of Republicans in districts in New York. And if this map is redrawn, experts say that it could cost the GOP 6 seats. That if these maps are redrawn fairly, the way that the appeals court suggests, the Republican Party, just by having this map redrawn, could lose 6 seats. And they only have a 10-seat advantage in the House of Representatives. So what I'm saying is the political consequences of this could be profound. They're already favored to most likely lose the House of Representatives in 2024. They stand a much better chance in the Senate, but this could almost guarantee it, right? So again, the political consequences would be severe, but at the end of the day, what's important to remember is this. Kevin McCarthy's in a bad situation because Donald Trump is not politically astute, he's not politically savvy, and he doesn't care about those things. He's a narcissist who cares only about himself. So he's urging McCarthy and MAGA Republicans to impeach Biden. But McCarthy is politically savvy enough to know that if he does so, there could also be extraordinary political consequences as well. McCarthy is stuck between a rock and a hard place. And at the end of the day, it's ultimately his fault because he had every opportunity to try to undermine Donald Trump back in 2015, 2016, and so on and so forth. In the aftermath of January 6th and when Trump left office, there were plenty of opportunities for Republicans to course correct and ditch Trump. They chose not to. They've made their bed, and now it's time for them to lay in it.